Well, hello there, and welcome to Centurion session number 5. During this session, we are going to cover Canvas quizzes, and we're also going to take a look into Microsoft OneNote. So for those of you that are following along online, welcome. I'm glad to have you. Those of you that are going to be watching this as recording, also happy that you're tuning in as well. The first thing that I want to go over before we really get into this is I want to make sure that you are aware, if you're not already, of the Canvas faculty page. Most of you should already be a part of this, as in your role will be a student, even though generally you're a faculty member, adjunct, or full-time. But you should be a part of this. If you're not, please let me know, send me an email, and I will get you added to this course, to this class that we have here. Because what I've done is I've gone through and I've set up a lot of different information on this, and tried to organize it in a way that it's not overwhelming. So you can go here and it kind of looks a lot like what you see with one login. And if you click on these tiles here, so maybe you want you're looking for some information on Canvas, you just click on the Canvas tile, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up in a new tab, and from there you'll be able to find different items related to what it is that you're looking for. So for example, maybe it's a tutorial. You'll click on that, and that will bring up a list of different tutorials that are available for your consumption. Okay, now I might not have everything there that you want, or the specific item that you want. I'm still working on building this library, so stay tuned. But it is my hope that you find this to be more organized. Keep in mind that every tile is set to open in a new tab. So you can always come back here and say, hey, I want to check out Centurion session number 4. You can click on that tile, and as I build, those items, as you can see here, will be available to you. So just so you know. For Centurion session number 5, Canvas quizzes and Microsoft OneNote, I am going to be running it from this area here. Okay, so as you can see here, I have an intro to it. Just some other items that I threw together. And if you want kind of a quick overview on the quizzes that I'm going to go over, the structure of it, all you have to do is click on this tile and it will pop up for you. And it's a quick rundown of that. You can download it, you can print it, you can just view it right here within Canvas. It's totally up to you. As I mentioned, I'm also going to be recording these sessions, or I am recording these sessions, this session. So I'll also be posting the results of this session here if you want to review it later on. Okay, and then when I get to the OneNote portion, I'll be posting that recording as well. So that is that. Now let's talk about Canvas quizzes. Obviously a very important part of the Canvas offerings. Allows you to do a lengthy final exam. Maybe you want to do a unit test. Maybe you just want to do a quick assessment of something that you just covered in your class. In any case, Canvas quizzes can help you with that. So let's get started. There's 2 ways to add a Canvas quiz. One way is to just simply go to the quizzes section on the course navigation and click on that. And what I just remembered is I actually need to go to my sample course that I set up for Centurion session number 5. So I'm going to go to my dashboard, I'm going to click on that tile, and that will take me to what I have set up for today's session. So once again, I'm going to click on the quizzes within the course navigation, and you'll see here that I have 0 quizzes so far. This is one place where I can add, edit, and adjust quizzes. As you can see here, there's a plus quiz, which would allow me to add a quiz. I can also go into my modules. So I click on that in course navigation. And within my week 1 example module, I have some items already. I have a today's meet back channel discussion that we already had. It was very successful. It was awesome. You should have been there for it. We also had we also had a Canvas overview in which I took some time in week 1 and went over Canvas. Okay? And then of course we have a syllabus, an assignment here. And so what I want to do is, let's say I want to add a quiz. Well, all I need to do is click on this plus sign right here, where it says add type. I'm going to change it to quiz, and now I have the option. Well, I don't have any options. Normally I would have options if I have quizzes created already, which most of you have. But in this case, I'm just going to click on new quiz. I'm going to call this quiz week 1 Canvas overview quiz. Kind of a mouthful for a name, but in any case, we know what we're talking about. So there it goes. It went ahead and added it. Now, I could have also added it without a name, and I could have gone back and added a name. Totally up to you. But nevertheless, the quiz is there for us now. If we go to our quizzes section and click on that, we'll also see that that quiz has also been added where we didn't have quizzes before. Okay, so we can access it in a couple different spots. Now, one thing that I should clarify is if we're in the quizzes section and we create a quiz, it's not going to automatically add it to a module. Think of the quizzes area here as kind of like a storage area for items pertaining to quizzes or quizzes. All right, and so if we create a new quiz in here, and I'll just do something quick, example quiz, okay, and then obviously the most important thing you can do is save it. In our quiz area now, we will have 2 quizzes. Our example quiz we just created and the week 1 Canvas overview quiz that we created within the module. If I go to the modules, you will now see I don't have that second quiz there. It's not going to show up unless I put it there. Okay, and if I wanted to do that, I could. Okay, all I would have to do is click on example quiz and it would add it. So very easy to do, very simple process, but that is adding, creating, establishing, I think is the best word, your quizzes. Obviously, we don't have any content to the quizzes yet. To do that, we just need to access the quiz. We can access the quiz within the module by clicking on it here, or we can go to that quizzes section once again, and we can access the quiz there as well, simply by clicking on it. So once I click on it, it brings up kind of an overview of all items pertaining to this particular quiz. Okay, the type, the points. Okay, we don't have any settings. All that we have right now are default items, things that are automatically added to the quiz when you create the quiz. So, in order for us to fine-tune the quiz and make it specific to what we're trying to achieve, we simply need to go to Edit. And once we're in the Edit area, there's one thing that I can't stress enough. Before you click on any of these items over here, again, make sure that you save it. I've done it time and time again. In fact, preparing for this overview right here, I forgot several times to go down to the bottom and click Save. So I'd go down and say, where'd all my questions go? They're not there. I just added 4 questions. Well, I forgot to save. So make sure that you are saving before you're clicking on these navigation items. And so what we can do now is we can change the name. Okay. Notice that the Details tab here is selected. That's a very important tab because there are 2 of them. There's also a Questions tab, but we'll get to that Questions tab a little bit later. Within here you can also add some quiz instructions. Maybe you're taking a Word document that you had used in the past and print it out to give your quiz, and you are going to add it to Canvas so that you don't have to grade the quiz yourself. You can have Canvas grade the quiz for you. You could copy and paste some instructions here. In any case, all you need to do is add in the instructions that you might want. You are going to take a quick quiz to show the instructor, I guess you could say me, what you learned in the Canvas overview. This will guide my instruction going forward. There's a reason for the quiz. Perfect. Okay. You can even fine-tune it if you like. All right. You can get really fancy. You can add all sorts of different items. You can even add a video intro if you wanted to, accessing the public resources. And if you haven't accessed the public resources, this is a very easy way for you to embed videos from different sites into your Canvas items. And that's not just quizzes. It can also go for discussions, for assignments. Anything that you have this instruction area on, you can embed different videos or public resources, as we call them. All of your courses have this. I added this at the account level, so everyone has access to that. Moving right along, you also have some other details to fine-tune this quiz. Maybe you don't want it to be graded. Maybe you just want to do a practice quiz. You can add that. Maybe it's just a survey or an ungraded survey. you have that choice as well. Some of you are familiar with assignment groups. If you're not, please come see me and I'll help you to set up assignment groups. It's actually a very simple process, and you can actually add weights to these different groups. So for those of you that are interested in weighting assignments and quizzes and tests and all that wonderful stuff, this is what the assignment groups will do. But you can also assign that here. Maybe you want to shuffle your answers. You have that option. You can add a time limit. If you choose to have a time limit, you can do that here. You can also allow for multiple attempts. Keep in mind that when you check on some of these, multiple additional options will pop up. So you can designate what score is kept, or maybe just an average. You can also specify how many attempts right here that you would like to allow them to take. Okay. Moving on down, you can also allow students to see their responses to their answers. And then there's different settings for that as well, as far as only once after each attempt, or maybe they can view them multiple times. You can also create a window for the correct answers to be displayed. Maybe you want to make sure that everyone is done with the quiz before these items display. So you got a class taking it, and you don't want students to be able to view their answers immediately after. You want to make sure that the time window has closed on all students taking the quiz or the test or the exam, and then be able to view the answers. And then you can also close their ability to view the answers as well. And you can set up through this both a date and a specific time. So you can be very, very detailed as far as that goes. You have the option to show one question at a time. So before they answer one, or before they move on to the next, they have to answer that particular question. And then there's other more specific items here. You can create an access code, a common passcode for your course for students to access it. You can also get really into the details and filter IP addresses. And if you are using the testing center or something to that accord, you can require use of Respondus Lockdown Monitor. That's another item that if you're not sure what that is and how that could be of use to you, please contact me. Or you can get in contact with the help desk and they'll put you in touch with me as well. And we can talk about that and what to do and where to go. Last and certainly not least, pertaining to the details of the quiz, is your ability to assign this quiz. Maybe you're somebody that likes to have a couple different versions of a quiz. You can assign it to certain members of the class, okay? And then you can come back through with another version and assign that to the rest of the class. That's totally up to you how you do that, but you do have that option. Canvas is wonderful, and their quiz option makes it very easy for you to do things like this. You can create a due date. You can also set an available window for which the quiz will be available. Maybe for different groups, you want the quiz or the test to be available for at different times. You have that option as well, and you can keep on adding. So maybe you got like 4 students in the class and you want all of them to take it at a different time because of their availability. If you're teaching like an online class or something like that, you have that option to make it available at different times for different students. So you can see that that's very simple to do. I don't want to do that. I just want it to be available to everybody in the course at the same time. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to everybody, or everyone I should say, and then I'm going to make sure that I click on save. All right, so everything that I set so far is saved. Now you're like, hey, there's a notification at the top. What's that mean? It didn't work. Well, actually what this item up here means is simply that I haven't published my quiz yet. So students that are in my course, they can't actually see this quiz right now. If I were to put this into student view, which you all should do before you publish your course at the beginning of the semester, students can't see it. And that's okay because I'm not quite ready. I haven't added any questions, but I did make a couple adjustments, very, very small adjustments. And I can see my overview. You can see that I now have my instructions that are showing up here. So we're now to the point where we want to add questions. And for some of you, this is the fun part. You get to actually add the meat of the quiz to your quiz. And so to do that, we're going to go back to Edit, like we did before. And as I pointed out right at the beginning, there's 2 tabs up here. There's a Details tab that kind of goes over the settings for the quiz and how it's going to be delivered. And equally important is, obviously, your quiz questions. Now, as it stands currently, we do not have any questions. So there's two ways to do it. What's the best way? The answer to that is that's entirely up to you. Some of your textbooks come with quiz banks. Some of you, by way of teaching a previous course, have already created quiz and test banks, or question banks, I guess we should call them. And so we're going to have to figure out what's available to you and what you've previously created. And some of you just like to create your quizzes or tests or exams from scratch, and that's fine too. So the first thing that I want to do is show you how to just create an individual question. And to do that is quite simple. You just click on New Question. And that will pop up a dialog box that will allow you to give the question a name. You ready for this? Question 1. Designate what type of question it is. And you can see there's a lot of preloaded question types here that you can choose from. I'm just going to go with a true and false here. And you can also select a point value. 2. Now is the fun part. You can go ahead and add in your question itself. And you can get fancy with this. You can even do like a Jeopardy type thing where they throw in a YouTube video because you have access to your public resources. And if you want to get crazy fancy and have all your questions be actually video questions, you have the opportunity to do that. If you wanted to simply record yourself asking a question, the question, you have that option as well. So it's not just about typing in some text and throwing that on there. You can do multiple items. You could record your question, but you could also type your question out as well. So let's go ahead and throw our question in here. Remember, this quiz pertains to the Canvas overview. And maybe one of the first things I said was true or false. Canvas is an LMS. Hopefully everyone knows what a LMS is, Learning Management System. And now we see it's either true or false. By default, it's going to be set to true, which in this case, it is the correct answer. But what if we said Canvas is not an LMS? Then the correct answer would be false. Well, how do we get it set so that they can answer that and it can be correct? We simply click on that green arrow, okay, and that will set the correct answer to false. If we move directly down below here, you can give comments to if they select the right answer. You can give comments to if they select the wrong answer, and you can also give additional comments, okay, just general comments pertaining to that particular question, if you choose to do so. Okay. When you are done with that, you simply click on Update, and that question is now stored within your quizzes. So currently, as it stands, you have a 2-point quiz available. Well, actually, it's not published, so it's not available. You have a 2-point quiz in the works for your students. The next thing that I want to throw at you is you have the ability to create a question group. Question groups are nice because it allows you to randomize, I guess, the questions that are offered to the students. So you can pick from, I don't know, well, let's walk through it. So let's do a question group. Okay, and we're going to call this group 1. And we want Canvas to randomly select, let's pick 5 questions, and we'll stay with a 2-point theme. And so we create the group. Now right now, there's no questions in the group. Obviously, that's not ideal. So what we're going to need to do is click on this plus item right here, and that will allow us to add questions to the group. Now, once again, we can add our questions manually, so I can go through and add the 5 questions that I want. I could add 10 questions, and Canvas, when it's time for the students to take the quiz, in this particular group would only present 5 questions because that's what we told Canvas to select. We could throw 100 questions in this group right here, and Canvas would randomly select 5 questions, different for each student. Okay. Another thing that we can do is we can actually use a question bank. So, and this is a very handy little tool right here because it means that you don't have to create all the questions, or at least you don't at this point because they've already been created, whether you brought them in the textbook or you created them in a previous course. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click on Find Questions. And what we could do is find one of our question banks that we already have in here. So in this case, I'm just going to go to this one. It says it has 50 questions within it. And you're going to see that I have a whole list of questions in here. Now you're like, wow, that's a lot of questions to go through. Well, on the plus side, it's a lot easier than going through and actually creating the questions yourself. And so you just go through and you check the ones that you want to use. Okay, and just like that, I have 6, 7, I think I'm counting right, 8, 9. Okay, obviously you would be more selective than that. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you have the ability now to add the questions to a question group, okay, which we happen to have created. So I select the group 1 from the group that I just created, and I click on Add Questions. And what that will do, as you can see within that question group, we now have more questions. I'm going to go through and get rid of these fake ones, not real ones that I already created. And you can see that I have now given Canvas 1, 2, how many did I say? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 questions in that group. Canvas, when the students take the quiz, will select 5 questions for the students to use during this particular question group. And each of them will be worth 2 points. So that's how you use both a question group and a question bank. Now, what if you wanted to add questions but not within a question group, from a quiz bank? All you have to do is click on Find Questions, and we're going to go ahead and go to Chapter 4. Now let's stick with Chapter 1, and we're going to go ahead and select all. And now we can go through and unselect ones that we deem to, not be good. You can also do this from the actual quiz itself. So if you want to see how they word the answers, okay, we can go through and check that. So I want to leave this one on Jim Lee, but I'm not quite sure if I like it or not. I'm going to have to see what they throw out there for suggestions as far as the answers go. So I got the one selected that I want. I just click on Add Selected Questions, and that will add all of those questions to my quiz. Now the problem is, you'll see that they added it as 1 point each. I would need to go through and change that, which can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it's a whole lot easier than adding all these questions ourselves, creating all these questions ourselves. Now I said that I had an issue with the Jim Lee question. Let's scroll past this question group here and see if we can find the question pertaining to Jim Lee. I guess it doesn't matter. We could take any old question. This one right here was one that I had an issue with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Edit option here. And now you can see that I can change it. I can give it a name. This is a question, 23. And I want it to be 2 points. And from that, I can update the question. You can see that it has a name now and the point value that I wanted. This isn't a difficult thing to adjust, but like I said, it's better than adding all the questions ourselves. Most importantly now is go down and make sure that you click on Save. Boom, just like that. Once again, it is not published yet, so it's very important that we remember that we need to publish it before we present it to the students. One thing you may be wondering is, how in the world did you get those question banks on there? Where did they come from? Is that something that we need to come to you, Kevin, and add, or is that something that we can do on our own? And the answer is you can do it on your own. And there's 2 ways to add your question bank. I will tell you that Canvas has to work through some things here. It's a little bit finicky. But one way to add your questions is to go back to your quiz area here. And this settings wheel has one option right now, and that's to manage your question banks. And from here, you can go through and take a look at what each question bank has to offer. You can actually get rid of questions within your question bank, so that might make it easier for you to go through each time and select the questions that you want. Because as you can see right here, this question bank, I believe this one has 150. I think if I go back, 150 questions in it. So if you're just doing a quick quiz, that's a lot of questions to go through. It might be something that you want to modify the questions that are contained within it. Another way to add your question banks is if maybe you're pulling in a question bank from a textbook provider. In that case, you're going to go to your course settings here. And then over to the right, you're going to go to import content into this course. And from here, at the top, it says import content. You're going to go ahead and select the content that you would like to import. In this case, I'm going to import a QTI, Quiz and Test Interoperability, zip file. And then I need to find it. Now, most likely prior to this, you had downloaded either from the course text website or you had gotten them sent to you directly from your textbook rep. In any case, you're going to find that file. In my case, I have some on the desktop. I'm just going to try and import chapter 5. Let's see if that works for me. I don't add them to a specific question bank because it just doesn't seem to work. Canvas has been notified of this and is working on it. But the key is here, as you can see, it's running, it's completed, and now it's done. I had been running into issues, if I go back to quizzes, with these items importing. So if I go back to manage my quiz banks, hopefully it worked, and it didn't work. But what you can see here, and this is what we need to get to the bottom of, Chapter 4, before, if you rewind the tape, had 150 questions in it. Now, since I did that import, it has 200 questions in it. And I know that Chapter 5 had a 50 question bank. So for some reason, it automatically imported it to the Chapter 4 option. I can delete the Chapter 4 option, and in my experience, it brings it right back and adds to it. So, but I do know that it imported it. Even though for some reason it is reading as October 19 at 11:26, I see that that number has gone up. And so those questions are in there. But this is far from ideal. This is something that we're working on getting fixed. It is a beautiful thing when it does work. So don't be discouraged by it. I can help you with it. And most of you have a good grasp on this and can work through it on your own. But like I said, we're more than happy to be here to help you work through this. So that's how you get your questions there. If we go back to quizzes, and we go back to the quiz we've been working on, the Week 1 Canvas overview, we now see that some items have changed here. Okay, it's now a 44-point quiz with 37 questions. If we click on that and go in it, okay, we can either go to actually edit itself, or we can see that statistics of it, the overview, before we click on edit. But in any case, it will take us back to where we have the option to edit it. So once again, Details tab always opens when we open our quiz to edit it. If we want to change the questions, we got to go up here and click on that tab, and then we can go through to our different questions. Okay. You also have the option, if you're into rubrics, okay, instructors into rubrics, no way. But you have the option to add a rubric. So if I go ahead and click on Show Rubrics, there are currently none displayed because I haven't added any. You can actually add a rubric right from here, create a rubric. And so maybe if you have essay questions or multiple essay questions within your test, quiz, or exam, you can actually set up a rubric to give feedback, okay, to assess how they did on that particular, whether it's a short answer, long answer essay. But you can add a rubric to a test, which is really a nice feature. Rubrics and outcomes are an item that we are going to build towards. It's a very useful item when I go to like InstructureCon, and the Canvas community and things like that. Lots of instructors are using outcomes, are using the Mastery Gradebook, and rubrics, obviously, to keep track of their students and to give richer and fuller assessments and feedback to students. A great point was brought up last night on a Twitter chat I was taking part in, that assessment and feedback is kind of the continuous learning item that instructors like to use, whereas grading actually kind of closes that continual loop on assessment. And I think that there's a lot of value to that statement, in that we're here to teach students and continually help them grow. And students in their mind, just because it's always been the way it's been, once they get that grade, they're done with it. they're moving on to the next module, on to the next topic. And so, not saying you should get rid of grading. I mean, that's kind of a big debate as far as education goes. But it's definitely something to think about, and I'm sure that you have given it some thought. So sorry to go off on a tangent there, but you do have the ability to add rubrics, and I will be doing an overview, or a Centurion session going forward on Canvas's ability to create outcomes at the institution level, at the department level, and at the course level. So stay tuned for information on that. All right, we made good progress as far as quizzes go. Just checking my notes right now to make sure that I've covered everything that I need to in the order for which it's easiest for you to digest. Let's see here. One other thing, when you're ready to present this to the students, obviously, like I said, I just click save, even though I know we didn't just do anything. But up here, you have more options in this overview area. You have the ability to lock the quiz, delete the quiz, shared accounts, which is something that I'll talk about later, so be mindful of that. When you're ready to rock and roll, you simply click on Publish, and if we go to that module now, it's going to no longer be gray. In fact, this quiz is ready for your students to take. Okay. All right, so we've come quite a ways. We now have more options within the settings wheel. Okay, in addition to show rubric, we can now preview it right from here. I recommend you preview your quiz so that you can see what your students will see. And it is loading. And so this is what your students are going to view. All right, and you can see what it looks like as far as what your students will see based on the settings that you chose for them. Obviously, we didn't put a lot of time and thought and effort into these settings, but obviously you will, and now you have the tools to do that. Also within here, we have options to view our quiz results. We can see that Canvas has given us a handy little note that says no students have viewed this or have submitted this yet, so no use clicking on that to see the results. But if students had, we would now be able to see what the results were right from this window. We can also use the handy tool from the gradebook, Message Students Who. This may allow us to quickly send out a message to students that haven't taken the quiz yet. So hey, you have this quiz open from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on one day, and it is now 11 a.m. and 6 students haven't taken the quiz yet. This button right here will allow you to message students quickly, students who have not taken the quiz. And right there are all the names of the students that haven't taken the quiz, which in my case, it's all the students. But in my case, these are also not real students. These are test students. They don't actually exist. But I could quickly message students like, hey, you have not taken the quiz yet, just a reminder, because maybe they totally forgot. If students are using the Canvas app, the mobile app, which most of your students probably are, they'll get a push notification right to their phone telling them, hurry up and take the quiz. Okay? And they will then be reminded, because of you and because of Message Students Who, that feature, they will be able to get the quiz submitted, hopefully on time, whereas before they might have totally forgotten about it. I realize that we're supposed to be teaching responsibility and all that wonderful stuff, but this is a nice feature to help your students out as we continue to mold them. Also then here we have the option to get rid of the quiz like I showed it before, lock the quiz. You get the idea. So we covered getting a rubric attached to it. We covered setting up the quiz, all the basics, the details, things like that. There's 2 other items that I wanted to point out to you. When students have taken this quiz stats will be available here, but since no students have actually taken the quiz yet, you're not going to see an option for quiz statistics. But one item that has come up several times from instructors is, how do I give a student retakes? A student has accommodations in which they actually should be able to give or have gotten more time on the quiz or be granted more time. This is where you will go to access these items, and you can go to moderate this quiz, and from here you will have a list of all of your students within the course, and it will show you how many attempts or what attempt, how many attempts they have left. Maybe you gave them multiple attempts, 6 attempts. They've taken it twice. There's 4 left to take. The amount of time spent on it. Also, their score that they received. Now, let's say that you would like to give a couple students some modifications. Okay, so I selected 2 students. I can give them extra attempts. Okay, and that will allow me to give them more attempts. You don't have to do multiple students. Notice that once I click on a name, that change extension pops up. I can also just do it by 1 student. Okay. There also should be an option to give extended time. The reason that's not popping up right now is because I didn't actually set a time limit to begin with. If I had set a time limit in that case, and let me actually, I'm pretty sure that that's the issue. So if I just go to edit quick and go to my details and do a time limit and say you only get 30 minutes to do this quiz and save that, because saving is important. And now when I go to my details and moderate this quiz, I should have the option to give, there we go, give extra time. So you have a student that has an accommodation that says give extended time on a quiz and test. Right now they have 30 minutes. We want to give them 90 more. Okay, so we save that, and just like that, we have a little note here that says gets 90 extra minutes on each attempt. Keep in mind if the accommodation is that they get 60 minutes to take a quiz and you have it set for 30, well, in that case you'd only want to set it to 30, because in addition to the 30 that they already have, they get an extra 30 minutes, which, if my math is correct, tells me they now have 60 minutes. So we're pleasing their accommodation. So that's Canvas quizzes right there. If you hadn't added that quiz to the module, now would be the time to go back and do that. So within week 1 we already have ours. But maybe I wanted to add that second quiz that I created as well. We want to make sure that we throw that on there and then obviously publish it. And now our students have multiple quizzes to take for the week 1 module. If you have any questions about what we just covered today, please don't hesitate to contact me. Once again, make sure that you visit the faculty page for more information. I will be posting a recording to this particular session in the coming days, maybe early next week, once I can get, because I like to edit it up a little bit, take out the imperfections, and make it as smooth as possible and as short as possible as well. So coming up in a little bit, I'm going to go grab a glass of water quick. I'm going to continue and talk about OneNote, Microsoft OneNote. So if you're interested, stay tuned. I'll be right back and we can chat about that. Thank you for joining me during Canvas quizzes. Have a great day.